Shabbat Shalom. Bubonic plague. Always a good opener. The Black Death. Usually just referred to as the plague. One of the main contributors to the eventual fall of the Roman Empire, one of the main contributors in every single sense of the word to the reorganization and restructuring of the entire European continent. How did it affect the Jews during the Middle Ages? The Black Death, was it good for the Jews? We were blamed. We were blamed for poisoning the wells, for spreading the disease. And why did they pick on us? Because we weren't so sick. Now, we did not get completely sick. There were plenty of Jews, unfortunately, who did die from this horrible disease. But we died in far fewer numbers than our neighbors around us. And clearly, if we're not dying at the same rate they are, we must have been behind the catastrophe that they were suffering. Yes, this is called panic logic. But unfortunately, when you are a relatively powerless minority within a large community which has no problem using violence, the outcome was rather unfortunate. But why did we get it so much? Because we took a shower once a week for Shabbat, right? Well, let me ask you this. How is the Black Plague spread? Rats. And so the pathogen is in the rats, and the fleas transfer the pathogen from the rats to the human host. That's what I was taught in school too. And it's not 100% true. New research on the bubonic plague. Now, you might all think, who's still researching the bubonic plague? The Black Death is still a major killer around the world. This is not a disease that has been completely vanquished, and so understanding, especially the medieval outbreak, where we have many records, can help us understand the vectors of this disease in the modern world too. And a very thorough study of what's known as the Plague Village, which was a British town that meticulously tracked every single member of the community and when they got the disease and when they died, has revealed something very interesting. Yes, rats absolutely carry the pathogen. The fleas on rats are the main way that that pathogen is introduced into a human population. But after that initial introduction, the main vector of transmission is... Hi, how are you doing, Bob? Good to see you today. Oh, can I borrow your cup? Can you sell me some meat? How about this cheese? It's the normal human-to-human interaction. The main way that Black Death is transmitted once it enters a population is through human-to-human contact, almost like every other disease that we are familiar with. And so just trying to avoid rats and cleanliness, just trying to take showers, doesn't make a bit of difference. Once it's in the community, it will get you. Unless, what do you do in situations like that, where the main form of transmission is human-to-human contact? Quarantine! Quarantine! And that's why we survived the Black Death. That's why the Jewish population was not as deeply affected, and also why we were suspected. Because we had an informal quarantine that had been in place for almost 2,000 years at that point. That informal quarantine is known as Jewish life. And we don't like to talk about it sometimes, and it certainly doesn't seem PC in the modern world. But living an active and full Jewish life does create some distance between ourselves and people that aren't Jewish. If you are only eating kosher food, then chances are you will be eating only in restaurants or in homes of other people who only eat kosher food. If you only go to synagogue rather than to church, then chances are you're not going to be sitting in a large room full of other people who might potentially be sick, because you're in the other room on another day down the street, behind the walls of a ghetto, somewhere that you have been kept at arm's distance by them, and somewhere that Judaism has kept you also, not necessarily at arm's distance, but certainly at least a few percentage points less familiar than the average table around you who wasn't Jewish. So Jewish distinctiveness, not Jewish hygiene, was the main cause. Because although, as Nathan said, there is this idea that Jews were all taking baths every Friday before Shabbat, the fact is that is not true, was not true, and probably will never be true. I would be willing to wager that most of you here, when you get home from work on Friday afternoon, do not jump in the tub or the shower prior to Shabbat. Maybe you do it Friday morning, but my guess is you're doing that because it's going out into the world, not just because it's Shabbat. And washing once a week was not necessarily typical of Jews at that time. Yes, we washed our hands more often with the Netilat Yadayim, but we washed our hands with just water. There was no soap involved. There was no antibacterial disinfectants involved. What kept us safe was that we kept somewhat apart. We were not isolationists, though. We were not locked behind the walls of the ghettos by our own choice, and we still engaged in communication, in commerce, and in community relations with non-Jews. Just with a few precautions. Just with a few distinctions. Judaism has had a delicate balance with how we interact with those around us that are not Jews. We do not disparage them for not being Jewish. Judaism says absolutely that the righteous of all nations have a share in the world to come, the highest honor we could possibly use. Judaism says that those who are good from all nations should be praised and lauded for the goodness that they have. But living a Jewish life does create a distinctive mode of living. And it creates a little distance. And a little distance isn't always bad. I'm sure that you spend more time with your family than you do with non-family. And if you don't, you should talk about that. Is that a problem? Are you prejudiced for your family against your non-family? Are you prejudiced for your friends against your non-friends? Is this a distinction of discrimination? Or is this simply how you have structured your life because of the values that guide it? Judaism, when lived, when embraced, when used to bind us together, yes, necessarily creates a little distance from those who are not part of the covenant. But it also creates a strength inside that allows us to reflect, to reinforce, and to reinvigorate the values that we do then shine on the world around us. This is not something that we need to be embarrassed by. Yes, in the 1800s, the early Reform movement was embarrassed by any notion of Jewish nationhood. And they tried to erase it from the liturgy, they tried to erase it from our mentality. And that didn't work out so well. Because we need to be a people. And we need to not be ashamed that we are a people. And we need to recognize that more than protecting us from the bubonic plague, being a people has protected us from the dustbin of history. Being a people has protected us from the creeping immorality that constantly threatens one society from another. So be proud that you are a little different. You were born with an inoculation against much that this world has. Do not rest on that laurel, however. Just remember we are called to be a light to the nations. We must be ourselves, and we must be a part of the world. Balance is tricky, but you got to keep your balance. Shabbat Shalom.